Hey Texans, it's that time of the week to start thinking about your fishing plans for the weekend. Our guides' reports are in and they have the latest fishing hotspots, as well as Dave is standing by at the workbench with the newest products plus the best rigs and techniques to make your fishing even better. This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
We're back and ready to get to fishing on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and we are complete again with Captain Rick Murphy back in the house from his trip to Bolivia. Why don't you tell us what you were doing and why you left us, Rick?
You know, Brie, it's really hard to leave you and Dave, but I want you to know that a good time was had by all, and Mike Prosek from Prosek Smokehouse, Smoke Meats, you name it, he led the charge. We went down there to go dove hunting, pigeon hunting. We had the best time with 20 guys, and it was just the ultimate boys trip. It was really cool.
Well, you've come back in a great mood, so we're happy to have you back. And we all missed you, but I know Dave at the CCA Workbench missed you the most, didn't you, Dave?
I did. You did.
I
missed him because he was down there shooting stuff, and I wasn't getting to shoot stuff.
Exactly. He was just jealous. What are we talking about today, Dave?
I was jealous. We're talking about frog fishing.
Woo.
Because fall's coming, and frog fishing is really good in the fall, which a lot of people don't know.
Okay, right, we're going to know today.
I think we're going to get froggy with it and jump right on into our first region. What do you think?
Froggy with it.
Wow.
Go dove hunting more often. Let's start out with a bang in the Prosek Smokehouse Lower Fresh region, where you'll be hooking up to some bass on Fayette County, Lake Somerville, Travis, Decker, Austin, and Choke Canyon if you listen up to Matt Reed. So, Matt, let it rip.
Let's get this thing rolling. Got two bunches to talk about, so here we go. We're going to start out on Fayette County Lake. It's been really good this week. There's a lot of fish starting to move shallow. The shorter days cause that, whether the heat, diminishes or not. So you want to, when they start to move shallow with those shorter days, you want to concentrate on that grass there at Fayette County. A wacky rig Cinco and a lipless crankbait will get that done. One of the big keys is to look for bait fish around that grass. That area will be the best. There are still some deep schools. They're really finicky right now because they've been fished for all summer. Moving on over to Lake Somerville, it's also fishing well. The fish are shallow there also. You need to look for rock shores and some brush. Either one of those are a big key. You want to throw a square bill or a spinnerbait on those shallow areas. There's lots of big fish coming from there right now. Another pattern that's working is in the man-made brush piles out on the main lake points in 10 to 12 foot of water. You want to throw a quarter-ounce shaky head with a finesse worm in those brush piles and work it real slow. Lake Travis is fishing really well at night. Summertime and clear water, nighttime goes really well there. You want to look for the lights on the docks. Those fish, that draws the bait fish, and in turn, that brings the fish to those lights. You want to throw a small crankbait or a swim bait around that. Great way to catch a bunch. When the sun comes up, you want to work shallow areas real close to deep water with a walking top water or a popper. Move on over to Lake Decker. Catching a lot of fish on a little soft plastics, 4-inch Cinco style baits, finesse worms on light Texas rigs pitched around the outside of the grass line. Later in the day, you want to get you a deep crankbait and move out in that 16 to 22 foot of water around the main lake ledges and channel swings. You want to throw a different curveball, get you a frog and go up there real shallow on the inside of that grass line. You won't get many bites, but it might be the big one you're looking for. Lake Austin, fishing well also. The key at Lake Austin is skipping docks with a jig. You want to get it as far back under there as you can, all the way to the bulkhead to get your best bites. Also, you can move out deeper and fish a jig on the offshore ledges to catch some there. Choke Canyon Lake, morning is the biggest key right now. Inside or outside edge of the high drilling lines are great. Just look for the bait fish. Top water has been your number one bait. Spinnerbaits and Texas rigs are running a close second. Mike Bates told me he's been catching 25 to 30 on his half-day trips. So, Choke Canyon has been kicking them out. Got a picture of Mike there with a big old bass he caught on a guide trip this week.
Nice. All right, what else you got for us?
All right, we got some Lake Falcon crappie. They're biting really well in the brush piles in 15 to 20 foot of water. There's no live bait available for sale down here, so you catch them on jigs. Get you an 8-ounce jig with a plastic tail. Several colors are working: monkey milk, red and white, chartreuse and white. One of the keys is to rotate colors in those brush piles after they slow down biting. You'll catch a few more if you change colors. Also got some catfish down here. Ram Reds with Texas Kings Outdoors. We got a little rain and the river's been running, so that flowing water has made the catfish very active and shallow. The best bite's been at night. You want to use cut shad and dough bait up in that shallow water, and you can load up on the channels and blues and have you a really good meal.
All right, Bub, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh hotspots from the Process Smoked Meat lower fresh region. He said Canyon, Choke Canyon Lake, largemouth bass are very active early around the hydrilla. Look for the areas with shad concentrations and you are in business. Topwaters, spinnerbaits, and Texas rig soft plastics are going to do the job.
You're still shooting things in Bolivia, aren't you?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's not back yet. Still way up here with the birdies.
My arm's
I need to shoot
me.
you down.
Oh my God, look what happened. I got this big
let's
swollen
just flex
bump
on
there.
TV. It's swollen. The Star Middle Fresh region is next up, and Toledo Bend, LBJ, and Richland Chambers are center stage. Tell us what's going on this weekend, Mr. Loescher.
All right, Brie. I'm pretty excited right now, because like Matt Reed said, the days are getting shorter. The morning temperatures are just a little cooler than they have been lately, and the highs aren't quite as high. So we can see the end of summer in sight here in the Middle Fresh. And the fish are noticing as well. The largemouth bass have been chasing shad, and soon they'll be really moving up the creeks for their fall feed. Toledo Bend has been putting out a lot of fish lately. Numbers are really good when you get around the fish. Size is just a little low. Those big fish just still aren't quite feeding real aggressively, but I hope they will be soon. The key to catching the bass this week has been finding the areas filled with shad and then locating a good ambush point for the bass to feed on those shad in that area. So sometimes it's a bend in a channel, or it could be a shallow point or even a small pocket where those bass can corral the shad and really feed on them heavy. Areas like that are on or very near to a channel of some sort are what you're going to look for. Just find the stretch of the channels that have the really heavy congregations of shad and figure out how those bass are ambushing them there. You can do that by covering water with a shallow diving crankbait, and then also a small worm like the Bass Assassin 7.5-inch worm have been great right now. Green pumpkin's been my color of choice. As for catching the bigger fish, a lot of them are still out deep on the main lake, kind of summertime places. They just aren't biting quite as well. But, the shorter these days get and the cooler the weather gets, they'll start to perk up a bit. Now, moving down toward the southwest, Jared Poole has been catching fish in a variety of ways on Lake LBJ. In the morning, he says that wake baits and walking topwater baits are fair around the docks. And then midday, a fluke up underneath the docks in the shade has been real good. And I've got an update for you on a fish that I talked about a few weeks ago. You might remember I showed you a photo a few weeks ago of a lady named Jana Stroop. She caught a 9.6-pound largemouth with Jared, and she is now the official water body record holder for the biggest largemouth bass in the junior division on Lake LBJ. So congratulations to Jana, and great job to Jared for guiding her to that trophy record fish. And I've also got a photo here of one of Jared's recent clients with a big skinny summertime bass that they caught down there.
All right.
Big skinny.
Looking good, big skinny. What else you got for us, Pop?
All right, so on Lake Buchanan, Jared says that the deep bite is still good down there. They're catching them on flutter spoons in 30-plus feet of water, and they're catching a few on deep diving crankbaits as well. Now moving up to Richland Chambers, Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass Specialty Guide Service says that the water temperatures have come down slightly, and he's catching fish there, flipping to the cattails in 1 to 5 foot of water and brush in about 5 to 10 foot of water. Deep crankbaits and Carolina rigs are producing some fish as well, out a little deeper, but it's been a slower bite. And then flipping some trees along the edges of the creek are good too. Now on the crappie, they've really perked up this week on Toledo Bend. You know, these cooler temperatures and shorter days have got them going. The big slabs have been mixed in with the numbers. While I've been chasing the bass this past week, my fellow guides that live in the Dream Guide Service have really whacked on them. They're catching them basically the same way we have been for a while now, around drop-offs, 15 to 25 foot of water, around the timber, brush piles. But the fish are just biting a little better. They've even had some 100-fish days lately. Live minnows and jigs fished tight line about halfway down in the water column have been the ticket. I've got another photo here for you of my fellow guide, Mr. Harold Allen, with his crew this past weekend and a table full of crappie they caught.
Looking good,
And
man.
I've also been hearing that the crappie are biting well Lake Livingston. So if you're in that area, you may want to check that out down there. Now, lastly, the catfish, they've really been biting good as well. I'm hearing good reports on the catfish from a lot of the lakes in my region. So whichever lake you're on, they're usually doing kind of the same thing right now. They stay around the shad on the main lake. I know that's definitely the case here on Toledo Bend. Like I've reported several times recently, they're hanging around the points and the drops where the big schools of shad are, down toward the bottom. Drop a live minnow on down there near the bottom or some cut bait or some shads, and just hang on, catch you a bunch of those good eating suckers.
All right, dude, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the middle fresh hotspots. Matt says this weekend you should go bass on Toledo Bend or biting on the shallows on small worms, shallow diving crankbaits. Also LBJ, they're chasing topwaters around the docks, and at Buchanan, flutter spoons are the ticket. And then Richland Chambers, the bass are deep and shallow. Biting creature baits, crappie and catfish are in 15 to 25 feet of water, and both are being caught on live minnows.
I knew you were going to say it. All right, the Garmin Lower Coast Region captain is ready to tell you what's biting this weekend, so stay tuned. But first, Dave Ferrell is talking about how to get that bite at the CCA Workbench with some rigs and techniques, froggy style.
Yeah, you need some flies over here. I can get some frogs a hopping if I had some little flies to toss to them.
Those things look like they're
Those are
alive.
my favorite.
I
He like
love
it
to
a
fish
froggy.
with frogs, and
I
that's
like
what
it
we're
a
going to
wiggle
talk
a lick.
about.
He like a
Getting
wiggle a
those
lick.
big frog bites.
Getting froggy with it over here. All right, we'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin, join the club. Sportsman's Adventures, fishing for adventure. And CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 Offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
If you're not a member of Coastal Conservation Association, you need to be. CCA fights on a national and state level for our fishing rights so that our children and grandchildren will have fish to catch today and in the future. CCA, through their habitat programs, create oyster and artificial reefs, as well as many other habitat programs. CCA also each year releases millions of trout, redfish, and flounder, so join myself, Brie, and Dave and become a member of CCA now. So we're here at the CCA Workbench, and we have a special guest star. You know, I noticed that Mr. Magoo is filling in for Dave this week, and when I saw Dave, I checked out his new skies, his new lenses. Nice. And you know what, Dave?
These are Costas, by the way.
I know they are, but I saw him when I was checking out what you did last week, and he looked good, so I said, you know what? He looks like Magoo.
Okay, that's awesome.
Look at the resemblance. Look at it.
I'm not going to take my hat off. because I would have looked exactly like him probably.
But you're my Magoo, baby.
Yes,
so
sir.
tell me about some frogs, man.
Well, we're talking about, fishing frogs, and they're just awesome to fish with because it's a topwater bite, and that's the only reason I go fishing is to see fish eat. I can't stand to use stuff that I can't see them eat it. So I love to see them eat the frog. And the good thing about bass is they love to eat frogs, and they try to murder the frog. It's just like they don't come up and kiss it very often. I have a lot of fish come up and kiss a lot of my other baits. Usually that frog bite is a blow. They just come up and just try to destroy it. They're trying to kill it. And so that's why we do it. We get to see those great bites, and we catch bigger fish usually. A lot of those frog bites, you will catch a smaller one from time to time, but a lot of times, especially during this time of year, you'll catch bigger fish. And you heard those fellas saying, that the shorter days are getting the fish moving up into the shallower water. Well, that's perfect for frog fishing because, a lot of guys think that frog fishing is spring and summertime. You see a whole lot of frogs in the springtime. So you think, we should be throwing frogs. Well, the problem is there's not a whole lot of bass up in the really shallow water in the spring and when there's hydrilla, because the hydrilla is all dead from the wintertime. So there's not really good mats of hydrilla in the springtime. There might be some bass up in there, but there's not any dense cover that these frogs work the best in. In the summertime, the fish start to move to the deeper water.
Right.
The hydrilla grows really good in the shallower water and starts to get dense, but all the fish hightail it to the deeper water. So you're really, you can catch a few, but you're not in the best time. Fall now, the hydrilla's been growing all summer long, so it's really thick and good and dense in the shallow water. Then the bass start moving up into the shallow water. So you got the two great things. You got the nice hydrilla and the presence of bigger bass that are moving up into there to spawn. So that's the prime time to be fishing with a frog is in the fall instead of when we normally think.
Right.
The great things about frogs, generally speaking, when you're using a single hook or even a soft-bodied double hook frog, is that they're incredibly weedless, and you can throw them into some really nasty stuff and not have to worry about getting hung up. And you can throw them into really deep cover, and that's where all the great big fish are.
Right.
So if you're going to be doing that, you need to rig them weedless. Some of the buzz frogs, the frogs that are made to, buzz across open water.
Like this one with the little
exactly, they got
tail.
little tail, they got little flippers on the back of them. Or even the frog that you had before, the ribbit frog, it has the curly tails and the little doodads on the back that spin when you pull it. But
they sound like a little kid in a mud puddle doing his business.
Well, it's a little gurgling sound, correct? And that's one I cut off my rod just today. Yeah. I mean, that's the one I use in my backyard in the lily pads. I was using one of these Kevin Van Dams the other day and lost a great big fish because I wasn't using the proper rod and reel. I thought, I'll just put this frog on my little light spinning rod, and I was throwing it into some nice big thick hydrilla, and I got a big bass and I couldn't pull him out. What you need is a nice thick heavy rod that you can pull a big bass out of hydrilla with. A good bait caster like that big Komodo SS right there. It's made for saltwater.
High speed.
Yeah, it's high speed, and you can once you get a good frog bite, a lot of guys miss them because they jerk immediately because you see that bite and your first instinct is to hit him really fast. Well, you got to let him eat it. When he grabs that frog, he's got to turn around and go down. And when you do, you see him eat it, and then you let him have it. And then once you get his head up and he makes that first jump, then you start cranking and try to skim him across. Even when he's a big one, if you have a good rod and a heavy, powerful, fast reel, you can get him in.
Rod, extra heavy action.
There you go.
Light
60-pound braid.
That's it.
You're going to jerk him out of there.
All right.
All right,
You
Rick.
jerk Grandma out of the grave.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well we touched on this a little bit last week, but Hurricane Dorian left absolute devastation in the Bahamas, and we are proud to promote Anglers for the Bahamas United for Relief effort, which has already raised $4 million and an additional $1 million personally from Bass Pro Shops founder Johnny Morris. More than 81,000 anglers donated in the first 4 days alone, and with 100% of the donations directly benefiting Bahamians through Convoy of Hope, every dollar makes a difference. So if you would like to find out more about the relief efforts and to make a donation, please visit anglersforthebahamas.org. Okay, let's get in the zone in the Garmin Lower Coast region with Captain Chad Kinney, ready to tell us about the offshore and inshore goods. Let's hear it, Chad.
Yeah, we got both going on here. Kind of the weather patterns changing. We don't know if it's from the tropical stuff or the time of the season, which is probably both. It's been good fishing out of Baffin Bay. I talked to the Reynolds Fishing Company, Connor and Hubbard Reynolds there, and they told me the trout fishing's been pretty good there along the deeper grass beds. They're starting to drift really shallow, and they're drifting up to that 4 to 5 foot break. Free line live croaker's working really well. If you're doing that, when you're drifting, of course, you toss your bait out there, you got to make sure to reel that slack up, keep it kind of taut, and then twitch your bait up there so it doesn't dig in the grass. Throwing plastics is working well. It's getting better every week down here on the plastics. I just threw some today. Saltwater assassin, the saltwater shad, slamming chicken's working really well. Sea shad, chicken on a chain's working good. In the mornings, we've been throwing some mirror lure. She-dog, it's also working good in the mornings there. The grass isn't, surface grass isn't nearly as bad as it has been. And then, like I said, when you're starting your drift real shallow up there and you're working out deeper, repeat that drift when you get on the fish. Easiest way to use that, use your Garmin, having tracking on. And with these swirling winds, it might start west, north, and then east and stuff, but you can follow your track and get where those fish are at. Once you get out deeper, go back around, follow your same track and stay on them, and it'll help a bunch. And then also 9 Mile Hole has been producing some really good trout. And if you're looking for the bigger ones, like I said last week, throw those mirror lures early, the she-dog surface walkers for those bigger fish right there. Got a good picture of a trout those guys got up in Baffin here a few days ago.
Wow, that's a nice fish, Chad.
It's a good one. So the redfish, they're holding pretty good. They're kind of moving all over, not pattern heavy, but where they're pattern is Port Atlantis jetties. Live croaker's working good, finger mullet. Using the fish bites working really good on the heavier jig head, bouncing out the bottom. And they're also starting to show up along the flats near in the inlets of the jetties. I'm talking like the East Cut here in Mansfield through the jetties, along the edges and through the guts that go through there. They move out into the flats there and stuff like that. So if you see that start happening, hit the gold spoons, working really well. Capt sea shad's working really good because you'll be fishing in that knee-deep water and stuff like that along the banks and drop-offs. Also look for your flipping mullet and menhaden when you're looking for that, so you'll be feeding off that bait there. And then go ahead and start early, and then as the day goes out, move on deeper for your redfish, and you'll have a better luck that way. And I expect here next week or so, I'll give you reports. I'll probably be showing a lot more redfish up in the flats. But heading to the offshore, the state water fishing's still maintaining really good. Fresh bait's key on this stuff. Fish are in that 50, 90 foot of water. But we just went out there today. I had a customer out there, and it's the current's really, really tough to do the rotation of the little currents and everything else we had out there. So you got to take some extra bank weights and stuff. This will lighten up really quick. So when it does lighten up, go to a free line or go to a lighter jig. That'll be a lot easier on you to fish and be a lot more fun. And then also some copia popped up. Seeing those the first time, which is a little bit later in the season, but they're there. Throw some chum out, make some noise, get them going. Rev your engine a little bit if you want to. And kind of hide a piece of bait on a little live bait hook, maybe like a 7-aught or 9-aught at biggest, and free line those. But the best thing is you'll see them come up and eat it. You won't feel it, but make sure you got them free spool. Let them run a bit, have a hook direct, and then set the hook. And remember the size limit's also changed here in Texas this year, guys. It's 40 inches. And maybe play this fish out. They're going to fight hard, get a really good gap shot, and go straight into the cooler with them. These things are going to be green. If you stick a green one, you're going to be in trouble. So play them out. We got a good picture of a nice cobia right here, about a 35-pounder. So heading to the next part, blackfin tuna showed up deep again. We're on deeper shrimp boats. Pull some cedar plugs, bigger size tuna. Mirror lure, 25-foot divers. The big ones are hitting on that. And troll, these shrimpers are pulling, so troll around all the sides and around the nets and everything else like that for the stuff. The early boats are the best thing, so get out there real early. The bite's over usually about 10 o'clock in the morning. And as the day goes on, if you start marking some bait balls around anchor, look at your Garmin, you'll see that bait ball. If you're fishing 250 foot of water, they're going to be down about 120, 150. You're not going to catch them trolling, so throw some chum behind them and keep trolling out there. Look at your Garmin. You'll bring those fish up, and then you can start catching some more possibly during the day there. Got a picture of one trip we did there, so you can see what I talked about. We got cobia in the middle. We had tuna in the morning out deep, and we caught state water snapper on the way in.
Man, you're just a jack of all trades there, bub. That's a trifecta. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower coast hotspots. He says that we want to go inshore. Trout and redfish are good at the 9 Mile Hole in the land cut. Port Aransas jetties are holding some big redfish. And then offshore, state water snapper fishing is good with cobia showing up. and the deeper blackfin tunas, the fishing has picked up, Brie.
Sounds good to me. Well, Rick, summer's over, but that
It
doesn't
is?
mean vacation. Well, you know, so school's in, football-ish.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean vacation has to be.
Nope.
Which means there's something magical about the Baja Peninsula. I should be on vacation right now too. And its rugged beauty that keeps visitors coming back time and time again. Los Cabos, where the stunning desert landscape meets the incredible blue waters of the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez, offers up endless vacation possibilities in one of the most striking yet relaxed locations in all of Mexico. There's no shortage of good food, good friends, and of course good times on any visit to Los Cabos. For decades, anglers, vacationers, and celebrities have flocked to this idyllic landscape to fish in some of the world's richest waters, explore the vast desert beauty, or just unwind in the area's luxurious 5-star resorts. No matter what your budget, a visit to Los Cabos fulfills all of your holiday dreams. And when the sun goes down, Cabo lights back up. You can enjoy fine dining in an intimate seaside location or dance the night away in some of the most eclectic nightclubs on the planet. The good times are just getting started after dark in Los Cabos. To get a head start on planning your Los Cabos vacation this year, go to visitloscabos.travel. Well, I just sold myself. Did I sell you?
Yes.
Are you more of a romantic dinner or like a dance the night away kind of guy?
Right now, I'm more about shooting doves.
Oh, wow. Okay, that wasn't an option. If you're fishing in the Fish Bites Upper Coast and Middle Coast regions this weekend, stay tuned. We're coming to you next. But before we take a short break, we want to remind you that if you would like to catch up with our crew and everything fishing in Texas, make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And Project Smokehouse, a link above.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO Offshore Outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO Offshore.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left, there's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
We know that Helmmaster came out a few years ago, but since the invention of the new 425s, Helmmaster has really become something that really makes a lot of sense on a multi-engine boat. The reason why is because the 425s have fly-by-wire steering. The steering is integrated into the motors themselves, and what this allows you to do is have all the features of set point, which Helmmaster now has taken it to the fishing levels. So the first one that I want to talk about is certainly fish point. Fish point is something that we're using in regards to having the boat set up, whether it's bow into the current or bow into the wind, or we have the choice of turning the boat around and putting the stern into the wind or into the current. Most of the time, this decision is considered based on exactly how you want your lines to be affected in the fishing situation. So if you're pulling up to a buoy, you might want to use fish point because you want to fish off of the bow of the boat. The other thing that works real well is if you're fishing over a wreck, you can simply put stern into the current and wind, and what it does is now it keeps the lines from going into the back area of the boat where you potentially could be in harm's way of the propellers as they're keeping the boat in the most perfect position. The other thing that Helmmaster offers is drift point. What I love about drift point is it allows me to fish along the edge of a rip, or it allows me, whenever I'm kite fishing, to take the bow and put it into a position that makes the boat drift based on a compass heading. This is really a proven formula because now we can actually maybe set the boat facing true north, but have a drift where we go from southwest to northeast along the edge of a rip, fishing in an area where it's going to be a lot more productive. The third feature is stay point. And what stay point simply does is it allows you to stop your boat and hold it into a position while you're waiting for a bridge to open, or possibly wait for a dock to open up before you put your boat on the trailer. I don't need a crew of people to help me dock my boat because stay point gives me the independence to have the boat ready when my position at the dock opens up. Now, for you guys that have Helm Master, we have the ability now to have an upgrade kit. That upgrade kit can be installed, and you can find out more information about it by simply going to YamahaOutboards.com/HelmMaster.
Can you say game changer?
It is a game changer. You know, Brie, the thing is that the boats are getting bigger and bigger, and we're putting more and more motors on them.
Yep.
And it's becoming, you really have to have a thought process if you don't have Helm Master.
Right.
Of which motor has to
You
go
have to
forward,
think.
left, right, all that stuff. That takes all the thinking out of it for me. And I'm going to tell you, it certainly has changed. Moving a big boat around or going into a much smaller spot with confidence. That's
Right.
what it gives you when you approach the dock.
Confidence?
Confidence.
There's no price on confidence.
Nope.
No way.
Come
All right,
on.
well, we're having some technical difficulties with Captain Carl Weston from the Fish Bites Upper Coast region. So, Rick, I think you're going to be filling in for us for the report today.
Yeah, so, you know, obviously Carl sends in his report so that we know exactly what he's going to say in case we
Yes.
have a technical difficulty
We
like
do.
tonight. So he wants to start off first by fishing for trout. He says the trout have been forming in various reefs in Galveston Bay between marker 49 and 63. This is a general area is loaded up with various oysters, oyster reefs. There are other natural reefs in the area as well, including Redfish Island. There are also some trout on these reefs right now, as well as they're going to be there in a while for a good while, being that the wind is down a little bit. Obviously, this weather could change things,
Right.
and that we're getting some good weather windows after these rains go by that you can make sure you get out and fish for. Most of the guys out there are fishing right now with dragging live croakers, but there has been some good fishing action on Bass Assassin soft plastics or mirror lure provokers with a 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce jig head, obviously depending on the current. He does have a picture here of a nice trout that this guy sends in.
Very
Looking
nice.
good. That is a nice big trout. His second species, Brie, is the open water schools of redfish in Sabine Lake. I've fished this lake many times when I was fishing on the redfish tour, and when it lights up, it's on fire, and what Carl says. There's several different schools in Sabine right now, as well as also in Galveston Bay. Most of these schools are going to be on the western shoreline towards the middle of the lake. A pretty good ways out. You want to look for them slicking. You'll also see them blowing up on ribbonfish and pogies. Just chase down the slicks, get in front of them, and wait for them to come up to the top. They will eat pretty much anything that you throw in front of them. Bigger baits like a 1.5 ounce spoon, or maybe a Bass Assassin die dapper on a 1 ounce jig head would be a good choice. Going to have the bigger cast, which you could throw further. It will give you the ability to get in front of that school. Most of these fish are oversized in the school, but there are a lot of slot size fish in there too. Right now you can catch more slots in Sabine than in Galveston in the open water.
All right, Rick, let's go offshore.
All right, heading offshore. Thank you so much,
You're
Brie.
welcome, keeping you
He's
on track.
talking about the Dorados are happening. There are some nice Dorados on scattered weed lines around 50 miles offshore. These Dorados have been caught numerous ways. A preferred artificial method is casting small gold spoons around floating debris or along the edges of weed line. The Dorados are very curious, and if there's anything floating offshore, such as a log, trash, weed lines, there's a good possibility that you're going to find them in those areas. As far as natural baits, cut squid, cigar minnows on a 2.0 J hook tied on to about 2 foot of 20-pound fluorocarbon leader is the way to roll. There's a little trick to catching these guys is to keep one of them in the water that's hooked. And that way when he jumps, he regurgitates, he's constantly chumming for you, and that they'll keep all the other dudes around the boat.
The punch bowl at the party.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, so we do have a picture of a nice Dorado that Carl sent in.
Wow.
Looking good.
That's
a nice one. And then our last species is kingfish. You know, and I found out when I was out there filming a Sportsman's Adventure recently that Carl really loves catching kingfish. So kingfish bite is hot near the shore and offshore. They're catching nice sized kings over bottom structure and behind the shrimp boats right now, drifting cigar minnows. Bump trolling is still getting the job done. They're looking for those kings over structure. Watch for the fish marking about midway up in the upper water column of your Garmin. The kingfish will also show much bigger marks than the bait that they're in and around, so look for that. Check your drift, then set out your lines. Let your baits drift away from the boat with the current. As the bait sinks deeper, you will be able to gauge how deep with a real solid bite is. So set your lines back and hold on to your tennis shoes. He also has another cool picture. Oh, look at, he's got Dorados and kingfish. Look at the size of some of those kingfish laying on the dirt.
That's looking nice. I think I get to wear the Captain Rick Murphy hat because we're all wearing everybody different hats tonight. Am I right?
That's it. You're wearing I hat and I'm wearing his hat.
So does that mean I should do your hot spots?
Maybe you should read the Mirror Lure hot spots.
Here I go with the Mirror Lure hot spots from the Upper Coast region. Let's do this. We're all switching things tonight. All right. Inshore, trout on various reefs off a Houston ship channel between markers 49 and 63, throwing live croaker or bass assassin soft plastic and Mirror Lure provokers on a 1/4 to 3 ounce jig head. And then offshore, we're doing some small Dorado and chicken dolphin on some weed lines or near anything floating offshore, casting gold spoons for natural bait, cut squid, or cigar minos on a small 2.0 J hook tied on to about 2 feet of 20-pound fluorocarbon leader.
That's right, and
That's
everything has lined up perfectly for some great fishing in the Middle Coast region. So let's hear what Captain Bink Grime has to say about how it's going to happen this weekend.
Go for it, bub.
It doesn't really feel like fall, but the signs are appearing. Tides are swelling and the autumn equinox is approaching. Little funny thing happened this week is Tropical Storm Imelda showed up that we weren't really ready for. It's dumping a lot of water on us right now, 4 to 8 inches here on the Middle Coast, and the Freeport, it actually came in at Freeport, and they're getting, they're getting 8 to 12 inches right now. We've had several years of wetness after a long, drought in the, I guess, about 6 or 7 years ago. That fresh water, we like it. It's a powerful thing to a saltwater estuary. I mean, it's like getting you a shot of B12 in it because all the organisms up and down the food chain really thrive. And so we're seeing lots of shrimp and lots of shad and lots of crabs. And man, when that happens, we catch a lot of fish. The reefs in East Bay have been players for a month. No shrimp migrating through the bay. Waiter's been working mid-bay reefs. Enjoyed excellent catches on sheep pups and bass assassins on the edges of those reefs. We've seen great results in September with several big fishes released, including trout to 31 inches. The great thing about East Bay is you don't have to wade to find these big trout. Sure, you need good weather and good water clarity, but half the big trout that are caught in this bay are released by my clients are in the boat, throwing soft plastic, throwing live shrimp over deep shell. There's very few locales in Texas or actually anywhere that you can have a chance at just such a beautiful fish. If this holds true, expect a scattered bird action. We're already seeing bird action early, and what that tells me is there's just a lot of shrimp in the bay. This year we've seen flurries. In October ought to be really, really good. That's usually when it starts, but man, when we're seeing flurries of bird action right now, we're gonna hang on and get ready for just great fishing all the way to December. We're seeing shrimp flooding the bay. Our bait shrimpers have little problems keeping healthy bait tanks. West Matagorda Bay's been good for wading along the South Shoreline. People are throwing top waters there for bigger trout along the grass lines. Then Half Moon Reef, Coon Island Reef, and the reefs in Turtle Bay have been good for trout on live shrimp. Port O'Connor, the reefs in San Antonio Bay have been hot. Waders are fishing around those reefs. They're throwing live bait and bass assassins in those mirror lure, Little Johns and provokers. Rockport waders have found large trout on Corkies and top waters around Carlos and Mesquite Bay. Most of those fish are hanging around the reefs into the sand and grass hawk. And so with our tides a foot, 2 foot above normal right now, those back lakes have got lots of fish in them around Port O'Connor, Matagorda, and Rockport. Redfish action, higher tides this month. It's high right now with that storm out in the Gulf. It's been a boon for redfish. There's a lot of shrimp in the back lake. Like I said, those marshes, many of those fish are being targeted on small top waters. I like those sheep pups and the top pups in the mirror lures and live shrimp under mid-coast cork. Cutoff Flat, Zipper on, Bio, Shell Island, and Twin Islands are all players in West Matagorda Bay. Then the waders along the West Bay, they've been working a point on bass assassins. You want to work both, if you want both redfish and black drum, work those same points with live shrimp and throw it up there on the edge, rigged about, a foot underneath the cork, and you can, get all kinds of pulls all day long. All those fish begin to move to the bays and the grassy shorelines on the north and south side of West Matagorda Bay. Many are tossing shrimp right along the edge of it, and you can see those schools coming right down the shoreline. Imitations like sheep pups and top pups. Large redfish are in the middle of East Bay under birds. And then in Rockport, hey, those back lakes like Allen's Bight and the marshes of San Jose and Estes Flats are doing really, really well. Offshore, Michael Quebec has been doing good on amberjack, about 150 foot of water. He's worked with shrimp motes also for cobia, blackfin tuna, and kingfish. Storms out in the Gulf. It's supposed to pass by the weekend. It's supposed to get calm again, so a lot of our offshore boys will they're gonna take the weekend off, but they'll be back at it next week.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Texas hotspots from the Middle Coast region. He says trout in up to 31 inches are good in East Matagorda Bay while drifting with soft plastic and live shrimp under a cork. And then the redfish action's good at the jetties on shrimp and crabs.
All right, speaking of CCA, recent funding efforts include a $100,000 commitment to a Sabine Reef site and $150,000 to the Rio Grande Valley Reef. To date, CCA Texas and Building Conservation Trust have collectively committed $311,000 to the Sabine site and $611,000 to the Rio Grande Valley site. These underwater photos are some of the railroad ties that were placed on the 1,600-acre Rio Grande Valley Reef site, and all of CCA's reefing efforts are in state waters or out to 9 nautical miles. They're always doing great things for conservation. It's like it's amazing.
They really set the bar for everybody.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yeti, built for the wild. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a MirrorLure. Building Conservation Trust. CCA's National Habitat Program, and StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO, Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Oh, there it is. You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Over 40 years ago, Mr. Proshek began smoking meat in a little Texas town called Hilgi, combining fresh, grade A ingredients to create a variety of legendary smoked meats. Today, Prospect Smokehouse is a Texas tradition, and now Prospect not only satisfies hunger in Texas, but across the country. Visit Prospects.com and order everything from fresh meats to your choice of jerky. Prospects meats are made by Prospects, sold by Prospects, and can be delivered in as little as a day. Prospect Smokehouse, a link above.
Today's power pole tip of the week is becoming more stealth with your poles. Now guys, think about this. We have 3 speeds on our power poles, and the one thing that we need to understand is that we can manipulate those speeds. We can go fast, medium, or stealth mode. Now whenever I'm making a move from an oyster bar over to a point, and I know I'm only gonna pick up the poles a few inches at a time, I simply click it into the stealth mode so that I can keep the noise level down to a very, very quiet approach. Now, you guys that love to bass fish and you're fishing fish that are on beds, that approach is the same thing. Make sure that you go into the stealth mode so that you can sneak up on those beds, put your poles down, and the bass doesn't know you're there. Keep in mind that by simply manipulating the speeds through your multifunction switch or through the app using the key fob, this will make a great approach, and that's today's power pole tip of the week. You know, we're here at the CCA Workbench, and I'm gonna publicly say, Dave, I really missed you last week, man. I knew you were here
lying.
without me.
You're lying like a rug. You're lying like a rug.
No, really.
Okay,
My
let's go ahead and
Tuesday,
start
Wednesday
working. We
night
got much
wasn't
time.
quite the same.
Costa, 45 liter small duffel bag. This is a very nice little bag. It's made from a cotton twill that's very water resistant. It won't snag on stuff. You know, it's good, strong material. It's got the reinforced straps that you can adjust as well. It's got a nice shoulder strap that comes off.
Right.
It's padded as well.
Yeah.
It's got nice mesh bags on the inside that you can keep stuff separate. It's got separate bags on the outside, so if you want to put some dirty clothes away from your clean clothes or whatever, you can do that as well.
Yes, sir.
It's the new Costa Del Mar small duffel bag. They're making really cool stuff. Yep. So next we got, this is the check. You brought this, brought the goodies home.
From when we went to Sportsman's, Texas.
Correct. This is a check and bottom deep sea rod. It's a deep drop rod. You can catch swordfish or big groupers on it. It's a 6-foot 10-inch rod. It's got a number 4 Winthrop on it. This is an adjustable Winthrop. It also, you get if you don't like the adjustable one, which I couldn't imagine why you wouldn't, but you can also get just a plain number 4 bent butt on there. It's got a nice sick guides on it, you know, Fuji silicon carbide guides.
Roller guide
a
on
nice
the end.
Winthrop roller tip, you know, that's a really good product, and also a CalStar blank. And what I really like this unique artificial type handle here. It's like an artificial cork, and it's a Winthrop as well. I saw it says Win on there, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, checkandbottom.com. You can check those out and order yourself a really nice deep drop rod.
Boy, this made it so nice, Dave, to be able to, you know, drop and then turn around and put it in up or, you know,
right, yeah,
bent butt.
Right, if you want to fish with a harness or whatever.
Yep.
All right, next we got some live target. These are injected core technologies. These are really nice. They look so realistic. That little one over there is already rigged up. That's called the twitching minnow. That one's actually, you rig it sideways like that on a wide gap hook. What's really cool about it is it got that inner core that looks very realistic, and then they have the outer part that it just gives it a really good silhouette in the water. And that little thing is just a little twitcher. They also have the slow roller over there. I got it on a jig head. You can do it on whatever you want, but that's on a Bass Assassin jig head, and you know that thing will, you know, just reel it and let that paddle tail go to work. Just the realism on the inside of those live targets are just amazing.
Yeah, man,
It's
it
really
looks pretty
good
real.
stuff. But anyway.
Hence the name of a live
Yeah,
target.
exactly. Very, very good. Anyway, this is the suspended bottom rig. This is kind of like some of the rigs that the guys will use to catch catfish sometimes. But it's kind of what this does is it suspends your rig in the middle of the water column, about 3 foot off the bottom. What'll happen is that weight you tie on to this end. Your weight will be sitting on the bottom.
Camera there, Dave.
Be sitting on the bottom, and then your float will lift this up about 3 feet off the bottom. You can put a live bait on here, you can put a shrimp on here, you can put a dead bait on here, and it's really good for the speckled trout. This is made in Texas, so you can check it out.
Really?
It's a suspended bottom rig.
Somebody was thinking.
SpiveyEnterprises.net, and these are the same guys. They make a little catfish rig that's kind of like this too. But this is made for catching redfish and speckled
cool this
trout.
would work with a finger mullet,
I'm
because
telling you,
that finger mullet doesn't
trout,
want to be down in the water column.
Exactly, for big
be
trout,
yanking.
big redfish, anything. So,
all right. Well, speaking of anything, we got one more region to go, Miss Brie.
Oh, yes, we do. The Yeti Upper Fresh region has Lake Fork and Lake of the Pines ready for some bass and crappie catching. So, Johnny, welcome back from your trip, and let's jump right back into it.
Well, hello, Rick and Bree. Yep, I just got back from a great duck hunt and goose hunt up in Canada. Want to thank a good friend and guide Mike McFarland filling in for me last week. I know he did a good job. Hey, anytime I'm not on the water for a while and I need to know exactly what the bass are doing on Lake Fork, I also called another good friend and guide, Brian Dupleshane. Brian and I started guiding back on Fork in about the mid-'80s, and he probably guides more than 275 days a year. Caught as many big bass over 10 pounds on this lake as anybody I know of, and he has that knack for finding them when they change that patterns and transition from one season to the next like they're doing now. Recently, Brian told me he's been finding some big bass moving up shallow. They're feeding on shad right now. The best bait is defining the bait's the key, and when you find the schools of shad in the back of the creeks and main lake pockets, the bass are there also. The best search baits he's using is a small square bill crankbait in white and silver, a lipless crankbait in blue and silver works good also. Once you start getting the bites and change over to weedless plastic, fish a wacky worm or Texas rig worm, green pumpkin. Early and on cloudy days, buzzbait, small buzzbait, or small walking bait will get bit also. This week, Brian's been helping his clients out practice for the Big Bass Splash tournament, and he's been finding some big ones over the 24-inch slot. Brian usually finds a bass showing up in Little Mustang Creek and also in Williams Creek at this time. I recently had the pleasure of showing O'Brien how effective a Garmin live scope can be. We both had a day off, so we shared the front of my boat and watched some big schools of crappie, hitter minnows, and jigs. It didn't take him long to figure out how the scope worked and how to trigger those crappie to bite. And we had a great time checking out some very special big bass holding areas as well. Brian shared this picture, caught it a couple days ago. Picture of Brian with another one over the slot, Lake Fork Lunker, weighed 9 pounds, caught it on Texas rig green pumpkin worm. Okay, Lake of the Pines, another great lake. Let's talk about crappie over there. So if you're looking for a great crappie lake in northeast Texas, you got to give Lake of the Pines a try at this time. Guide friend, buddy over there, Seth Vanover, he's been putting his customers on some big ones. Over there, usually every year in the early fall, the fishing turns out great, and it's starting to happen now. Seth's finding the big crappie holding in the timber, 20 to 28 foot still. He's catching them suspended down about 12 to 14 foot, using chartreuse and white jigs and minnows. Usually, finding and catching suspended fish is hard, the crappie, but boy, with the live scope, it's so much easier now. Those big schools of crappie, they bunch up tightly around those tree branches, around the pole timber, and it's pretty easy to see them and watch your jig fall at exactly the right spot at the crappie you're holding, and put a little slight wiggle or slowly raise the jig over the top of the crappie, and you'll entice a big one out of the school to bite. Brush piles are full of crappie right now, but the big ones seem to be in smaller groups, and they can be very spooky. So usually once you catch one or two, the rest of the big ones swim off. It's time to look for another bunch. Seth says the fall bite on Lake of the Pines just around the corner, and he expects another great October and November. Here's a picture of Seth himself on a recent Lake of the Pines trip. He got him another big crappie. Hey, the largest bass tournament of the year on Lake Fork starts Friday through Saturday. Bob Seeley's Big Bass Splash Tournament usually draws over 3,000 anglers on Fork. A lot of people will be casting for big bass and chasing the $516,000 in cash and prizes this weekend. Big worms, jigs, and crankbaits usually catch a big money fish. Today I was guiding a couple of friends who'd be fishing the event. We found a few good places to catch some heavy under the slot fish. And one of the anglers, Bill Scott, he caught an 8-pound, 4-ounce bass on a crappie jig. Believe it or not, that was only 23 inches long. He hopes to find several more big ones during the tournament, so come on out to Lake Fork this weekend and watch excitement where any cast could be the biggest bass of your lifetime.
Thank you so much, Johnny. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Yeti Upper Fresh region. Lake Fork, the bass are starting to transition to fall pattern. Small crankbaits and weightless plastics are working best in the shallows. And then Lake of the Pines, the crappie are biting great on minnows and jigs, and then find them suspended in 12 to 14 feet on the deeper timber and brush piles, Brie.
All right, Rick. Well, guys, that's it. We've had some different hat wearing tonight. Rick, we're happy to have you back.
Same hat.
I know you're still in Bolivia.
Blue water
but,
here.
you know,
I'm cool, man.
We're happy. He's still shooting birds. Look at him. Look at him. Remember, guys, we are posting our shows to YouTube every Thursday, so make sure you check that out. Thanks for tuning in. Dave, Mr. Magoo.
Yes.
That's your new name.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
I can't remember a Magoo joke.
Oh, Magoo, you've done it again.
There we go. Way to end the show with that. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week.
I love Magoo.
Have a good weekend of fishing. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, Brie here with the Texas Insider Fishing Report. If you like what you saw and want to see more, click the subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and comment below for everything fishing in Texas.